Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be doing a full flip through of my 2020 bullet journal. I know this is a little bit early, but let's be honest, everyone's just ready to move on to 2021 and start fresh with the new year. This year I mainly used a Scribbles That Matter journal and I really loved this journal. It worked out great for me. I did run out of pages around the end of October, so I also have a paperback journal that I switched to just for a couple of months to finish off the rest of the year. First off, I have my yearly overview calendar, which just has like major holidays and any traveling, which of course didn't actually happen this year. Like I guess at the beginning of the year, I didn't actually use this spread very much, so next year I don't think I'll be including this in my bullet journal. For January, I did some simple layouts using washi tape and collaging little bits of paper that I upcycled. For each month, I usually start off with a cover page, a monthly spread, and then I go into my weekly spreads. So here's a monthly spread here, and then for my weekly spreads for this month, I actually did a Dutch door setup where the inside of the pages are the actual weeks, and then on the edges I have like the overview of January and also a habit tracker down the side. So here you can see how I'm flipping through these individual weeks of the month, and I really like this layout. I think it's something a little bit different but also really useful because you don't have to redraw something like a habit tracker on every page. But you can see it no matter what week you're on. So this is something that I definitely want to bring into future layouts. Then moving on, I have a playlist page for January, which is really fun just to record the things I'm listening to at the time, and also a favorites page, which I usually put like books, TV shows, and products that I like to use. Next for February, I did sort of like a self-care theme. So here's the title page of that, where on the left I have a list of my ideal day. And then for this month, I did little collages again, but this time I collaged a whole bunch of things that are in categories of things I love. So for instance, this one is food, and then we also have like animals, fashion, nature, that kind of thing. And I sprinkled in little bits of like watercolor, washi tape, and just other little elements for my collages. Then again, I have another favorites page, and this one I just did into a big double spread, and I think it looks really neat. Moving into March, I have a really fun theme, which is the board game theme. I think people really liked this one, and it's really fun to flip through these. So on the first couple of pages, I have sort of like a Scrabble themed look, which is one of my personal favorite games. And then next we have a mood tracker, which is inspired by Candyland, and again, this one is really fun once it's all filled out, and it's just something really bright and cheery to have. The other weeks are inspired by Monopoly, a regular deck of cards, Uno, and a chessboard. But there's so many other different options that I've seen people do, so you can find a way to work in some of your favorite games in here as well. I had this one in between week that was kind of just like in between months, so I just did a very simple layout for this one. And then for the favorites page for March, I did something that looks almost like a roadmap or like a board game trail through my favorite things for the month, and I really like how this one turned out as well. I think it's really cute and fun. Moving on to April, for this one I did an herb garden theme, which was all watercolored and some bits of washi tape here and there. So here is the calendar page, and then I have my habit and mood trackers. I realized here that I forgot to fill in a couple of stems for my mood tracker, but I did mark like how high they should be for those days, so I'm just gonna go in and fill those in really quickly. It's really nice to just go through your bullet journal at the end of the month and just tie up these loose ends and finish off anything that you left for later, just to make sure everything is all nice and tidy and finished. So there's that. That was just really quick to fill in. And then for the next page, I have another sort of like Dutch door variation where I've cut out a border to go along with my herb borders along the edges. And then for the next page, I kind of inverted it and then did a little flap that connects in the middle of the spreads. I really loved both of these pages. I think those are some of my favorites throughout the whole year. They're just something that's a little bit different, and it looks really nice and it's still really practical. Then here I have another thing that I have to go back and do. I have my April favorites, which I didn't get around to doing, but I usually just write them on a post-it note throughout the month, and then at the end of the month I can go in and fill them all in. For May's theme, I have a koi pond theme, and for this one I had watercolored and drawn a whole bunch of different koi fishes on paper and also vellum, and I cut those out and collaged them into my journal. This is a method I really like to do because you don't have the stress of drawing directly into your journal, you can feel free to experiment on other pieces of paper, and then you get the fun task of figuring out how to collage it with other elements as well, which I really like. You'll see in my journal I collage in like almost every month. I think it just makes things a little less stressful, and I also really love the way it looks, so it's a win-win. I do also just want to mention this journal holds up really well to watercolor and the pages don't buckle. Moving on to June for this one, I used a bunch of flowers that I pressed from my garden and I just glued them in my journal. I stuck to pretty simple layouts for this one, and just wherever there was space I would just fill in a few flowers, tape them in with washi tape or just like regular old glue. I found that they stayed in there really well, even though they can be a little bit flimsy. You just have to be a little careful when you're writing around them. I got really into flower pressing this year, and they're great to have on hand whenever you have a month that you just want to put something together really quickly. I did a video on how to make a DIY flower press as well, so you can check that out so that you can incorporate this into your journal next year. Next for July, I did an oriental lily theme, and these are all drawn in and colored with colored pencils. This one was really fun for me to do because these were inspired by lilies that were blooming in my own garden. So for a few of these drawings, I based them specifically off of photos that I took in the garden, and that was really fun to just like immortalize a little part of my real life in my bullet journal like that. And this is also a super fun and easy illustrated month to start off with because colored pencils are available to pretty much anyone and they're fairly easy to use. On the last weekly spread, I have this black and white inked illustration of lilies. It was just really fun to practice some line work for that page. Okay, so at this point, I will admit my bullet journal took sort of a simpler turn for a little bit. For August and September, I really just stuck to simple tried and true layouts that I know work for me. I didn't do too much illustration or anything too crazy. At the most, I would put in like little collages or some pressed flowers. And honestly, I just think that things in the world were going up in flames, so I didn't really want to stress about my bullet journal and put this kind of pressure on myself. I just needed a little mental break from things, so I just allowed myself to take a little break, and I think that's totally fine if you ever have to do that in your bullet journal. It doesn't mean that you have to stop completely. I still need to live with my planner no matter what because I just write everything in my planner and I could not live without it. But you also don't have to feel like every single month has to be this like all-out watercolor illustrated type of theme. So just take it easy when you need to and do what's right for you. Going into October, I had a little bit of a burst of inspiration because I did receive this package from the washi tape shop that had a bunch of really fun and pretty products, so I wanted to put those all to use in October. So you can see a lot of these leaf stickers that I thought were perfect for fall that I scattered all around, and all of these different washi tape flowers and petals and that kind of thing that I used throughout the month. By the way, for a lot of these months, I did put up videos, not for every month, but for the months that I did do a video of like how I set it up, I will make sure to leave links for those in the description box down below. At the end of October, I did run out of pages for November and December, but if you'll remember, if you watched my 2020 setup video, I did actually set up some yearly spreads, but I started them from the back of my journal. So I'll be flipping through those right now. I have my goals page, my 26 things, well 26, my monthly snapshots, which honestly was one of my favorite things that I did all this year. I was so grateful that I set this up at the beginning of the year because it really gave an incentive to kind of slow down each month and take one little snapshot. And with this year being so different from previous years, it was also nice to just slow down and to appreciate little things in life to be thankful for when everything else in the world was kind of crazy. It's really nice to have this to look back on and to kind of remember little snapshots of what this year was like. So this is something I'm definitely going to be doing in 2021 as well. Next I have my book tracker and my travel tracker, which I mean I don't even need to go into the travel thing. Our travel plans for the year were basically canceled and I'm sure everyone else's was this way. I mean, nobody could have guessed that that would have happened at the beginning of the year, so you just roll with the punches. So the reason I put all of these pages in the back of my notebook is so that if I ever wanted to add some, which I did have to add a few throughout the year, I didn't want them to be scattered within all of my monthly pages, and I don't have any of these like random pages in between of journaling or lists or anything like that. So this is a system that I really liked and would definitely like to keep doing for my future journals. Since I was out of pages but only had 2 months left, I turned to one of my favorite little paperback notebooks. I have a whole stack of these just for little things whenever I need to start a new journal or for situations like this where I just have a couple of months left for the year, and I just filled in November and December in this journal. I didn't worry about bringing anything over, like all my yearly lists or anything like that, because it doesn't really matter just for a couple of months. And for November, I kept it simple with some basic layouts, just embellishing with washi tapes, stickers, and just sticking to a nice fall color palette for that. Then for December, since I started off the year with collaging, I just ended it with collaging as well. I really like the look of this one because I had this piece of pattern paper that had a bunch of just like vintage sort of packaging and like ticket stubs and that kind of thing. So I just collaged all those in with some washi tape. Some of this is empty because of course these weeks haven't happened yet, but I just wanted to show you the empty layout still. And then I still have a bunch of this journal left to fill in with random little thoughts. I can just use it as my diary for the rest of the pages. So that is it for my 2020 flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're going into bullet journaling fresh for 2021 and have never done this before, I hope that this gives you some inspiration. If you have any questions for me about bullet journaling or supplies or really anything at all, just leave it in the comments down below and I'll try to get back to all of you. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.